Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome is directed by George Miller and George Ogilvy, if I pronounced his name right. After being exiled from the most advanced town in post-apocalyptic Australia, the Drifter travels with a group of abandoned children to rebel against the town's queen. Now, I've enjoyed the previous two Mad Max films, and definitely the future ones especially, that came out between this, and a lot of people consider this one to be the worst of the entire franchise. And after rewatching it after a long while, because I've watched these films before, but it's been a long time. I've mostly watched Fury Road most of my life. Like, that's the most rewatched Mad Max film for me. This one, not so much. Not even as much as the original two films, which are exponentially better than this one, because Beyond Thunderdome felt like a downgraded version of The Road Warrior at times, and I just couldn't get into the story all that much. It started strong. It had a strong start with us getting reintroduced to Max in the post-apocalyptic wasteland that's even more reminiscent of Fury Road. Like, it seems like all of Australia is turning into an orange desert the more movies we get into. Like, it gets even drier, sandier. There's nothing left. Bartertown is completely made up of rocks and sand, all piled up together. There's only a few remnants of old tools and civilized buildings and cages to make a sort of town out of everything, and I really like that. The production design of this film is really good. Max Rokitansky, played by Mel Gibson once again, is also really fun to watch. Mel Gibson is an action hero here very much. He has a lot more to say and do in the film, and I felt like I prefer when Mad Max was more of a silent character, only speaking whenever he needs to speak. Because there are many times here where I felt like with him just not speaking would have been a lot more impactful, and that is why I was very invested with the character, especially in The Road Warrior. Him being a silent person that only speaks whenever he needs to, and speaks mostly with his actions. He is a guy of actions. Seeing what he does best is why I was invested in this character, and why out of everyone he seems to be at least the most sane person. But because this is a world filled with crazy people doing crazy things, he is still an outlier at being very crazy. It's just that he's so good at what he does is what makes him so mad. But here, I didn't really feel that anymore. At times, he just feels like a beefed up Peter Pan whenever he's interacting with the kids that turn up halfway through the film, and the other half we focus on Max trying to work for his car and get it back, and he has to fight in this ring. 2 men enter, 1 man leave. That's a pretty cool line I really like, and it leads to a twist and a betrayal between him and the queen of Bartertown, and I was invested in what's going on, at least there. But the action didn't really feel all that investing. And that's mostly due to the PG-13 rating it was given. It felt way too watered down. I felt like this fight sequence could have been a lot more bloodier. It was very intense by the end, but I still felt like it could have used a bit more brutality and a bit more tension in the fight, because at times it feels way too staged in my opinion, and way too fake at times. Like, it was staged, it was choreographed. Like, it just felt too much like an action sequence for an action film, whereas the previous films do feel that, but they also have a sense of realism with the stunts. And while the stunts here are pretty good, especially in the final act of the film, when it becomes a downgraded version of The Road Warrior, the stunts are good, but nothing in comparison to The Road Warrior or even Fury Road. And as I said before, the kids feel very superfluous. I understand why they're important to the plot, but it doesn't feel all that engaging because they don't really have much of a connection with the Queen. So we're seeing these kids rise up against Bartertown and the Queen that lives there, played by Tina Turner, who feels pretty miscast in my opinion, as this Queen feels like they wanted a big celebrity for the film and that it could bring in a lot of money. She just felt like out of place, and I felt like she would have done a lot better if she had a bit more dirty makeup on her. Like, still have her look beautiful, but still have her feel like she has lived in this world for a long time. But I see where they're going with this character, but I felt like Tina Turner was miscast there. But the kids and their conflict with Bartertown doesn't feel... what's the best word? Doesn't feel engaging. It doesn't feel investing. And I didn't care in the final battle when they're fighting against the Queen. I mostly cared about Mad Max. Overall, this movie is disappointing. It felt like a typical Mad Max movie, just watered down. I highly recommend the previous two films and the next films, but this one, you can skip this one really. Not much here is very engaging. Just a lot of stuff in this movie, while good, are done better in other movies, and at times I was actually kind of bored with the movie, and I felt like it needed to pick up the pace because the pacing at times can be a bit of a drag. I'm gonna give Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome a C. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please leave a like, subscribe, comment, and I will see you guys next time.